You've stopped chasing, you've let go of the pressure to figure it all out, and maybe for a moment there was relief. But now what? What happens when the clarity doesn't come right away? What do you do with the quiet that follows the letting go? What if purpose isn't something you figure out at all, but something that reveals itself when you stop trying to control the outcome? This video isn't about giving up. It's about what happens after the striving ends, when there's no more checklists, no more urgency to prove anything, but also, let's be real, no clear direction yet. And for a lot of people, that's where the anxiety starts to creep in again. Because even though they've stopped chasing, they're still waiting for something to replace the chase, a roadmap, a label, a next step that they can actually hold on to. And if you've been in that uncomfortable pause where you're not who you used to be, but you're not quite clear on what's next either, stay with me, because this is the part that no one really prepares for. And what we're unpacking today, it might be the thing that finally helps you feel grounded in the not knowing. Letting go isn't just a mindset thing. It's a nervous system shift. It's a psychological reorientation, a decision to stop treating stillness like it's a threat and start relating to it as the space where clarity actually begins. All right, welcome back to part 3 of this series, The Paradox of Purpose. Let's get into it. If you're here, there's a good chance you've already stopped forcing it. You're not clinging to a perfect plan anymore. You've stepped away from the grind of trying to find your purpose. But here's what no one tells you. Letting go doesn't always feel good at first. In fact, it can feel quite destabilizing, because when you stop doing, what you're often left with is everything you haven't wanted to feel. Letting go is often misinterpreted as the end of a journey, but psychologically, it's more like a handoff. You've released control from the mind, but the body's still holding the story that safety comes from certainty. So even if you stepped back intellectually, your nervous system might still be searching for a foothold. This is especially true if you've had to stay hyperfunctional in the past, if control, planning of not knowing what comes next actually helped you survive, then stillness won't feel neutral. It'll feel threatening. If you found yourself saying things like, I've let go, but I still feel ungrounded, or I'm not chasing anymore, but I also don't know what to trust, then I want you to stay with this, because what you're experiencing isn't necessarily confusion. It's disorientation after identity loss. And that's not something to fix. It's something to understand and move through with care. This episode isn't going to give you a 3-step system for surrender, for letting go. It's going to help you understand what happens inside when you release control and why it still doesn't feel like peace. We'll talk about why the body resists presence, why purpose doesn't arrive on command, and how learning to feel safe in uncertainty isn't just emotional, it's physiological. Because purpose doesn't show up when you've finally figured things out. It shows up when your system stops gripping long enough for something real to come through, something authentic. And if this is resonating so far, and you're starting to see this isn't just a mindset shift, but a nervous system one, trust that you're not by yourself in this journey. And that's exactly why I created 2 free tools to support you. One is a powerful set of self-reflection questions to help you unpack what's underneath the resistance and anything else that you might be stuck on. The other is a 30-day checklist to help you create space, safety, and emotional clarity without the overwhelm. You'll find them both below this video. And if this speaks to you, they'll meet you right where you are. All right, now this is where things get real, because even if you've stopped chasing clarity, you might still be carrying the internal pressure to earn a sense of direction. You might have let go mentally, but there's a part of you still waiting for the signal that it's okay to relax. And here's what's often missed. It doesn't always feel like control, but it's still a way of managing the unknown. It sounds like, I just need confirmation before I can really trust this. Once I have a clear next step, I'll feel calm, I'll feel ready. Or lastly, I'm fine, I'm just trying to figure things out. But underneath all of that, there's often a very young part of you that still believes safety comes from knowing, especially if your early environment was inconsistent, or if you had to grow up really fast. You may have internalized the belief that being in control was the only way to stay safe, connected, or even valuable. So when you remove the structure, when you're no longer chasing, there's often a vacuum, not just of action, but of identity. So when the external goals fall away, you might be left asking, who am I if I'm not working towards something? Or what holds me together if there's no plan to follow? And that's not just a philosophical question, it's really an emotional one. Because for many people, the chase wasn't just about achieving, it was about maintaining a version of yourself that felt safe, capable, and needed. So letting go isn't just a relief, it's a rupture. And your nervous system might not know what to do with all of that quiet, all that stillness. And this is where old unconscious contracts often show up. If I slow down, I'll fall apart. Or if I don't know what I'm doing, no one will take me seriously. And if I stop trying, I'll be forgotten or left behind. And so these aren't irrational. They were formed to protect you. They helped you survive, perform, and even belong. But if you don't examine them, they'll just keep running your life in the background, even after you've let go of the external chase. So if you're sitting in this strange space, not forcing, but still not yet free, what you're feeling is valid and more common than you think. And this is part of the process. Even if it feels disorienting, you're just meeting the part of you that still doesn't feel safe without certainty. And that part just needs a different kind of support. And that's what we're building in the next section. So what do you do after you've let go, but you're still unsure how to move forward without recreating pressure? And this is where most people get confused, because if you're not chasing anything, does that mean you just wait? Well, not exactly. There's a way of moving that doesn't come from urgency, but from alignment. And in Taoism, that's called Wu Wei. Wu Wei is often translated as effortless action. And maybe you've heard people say this before. That doesn't mean inaction. It just means that the actions you take are in sync with your internal truth, not your fears. So they come from presence, not panic. And if you're used to living in overdrive, this can actually feel pretty unfamiliar. And you might question, is this laziness? Shouldn't I be doing more? Is this really aligned, or am I just avoiding? So that confusion, it makes sense, especially if your body is used to operating in overdrive. So calm might actually feel like discomfort. Stillness might actually feel like a threat. And slowing down might activate the part of you that equates worth with output. So this concept in Taoism, Wu Wei, isn't about doing less. It's about moving in a way that doesn't betray your nervous system. It's what happens when your effort isn't performative, it's integrated. When you don't need to force momentum just to feel like you matter. When you can say yes or no without needing to justify it. Letting life lead doesn't mean losing yourself. It means you've stopped overriding yourself. You've stopped outsourcing your pace to other people's expectations. And maybe for the first time, you're learning what it feels like to move in a way that reflects who you actually are. In the next section, we'll deepen this even further by exploring how to stay engaged in life without being attached to how it all turns out. Just a quick reminder, if what we're talking about is hitting something real, like you're feeling like very connected to what is being said, this might be a good moment to revisit the 2 tools I mentioned earlier. These tools were designed for exactly what we're exploring right now: how to get honest with what's still driving you beneath the surface, and how to build rhythms that actually support the version of you who doesn't need to chase anymore. So there's a book that I want to return to and go deeper with, and it comes from a text called the Bhagavad Gita. If you've never heard of it, it's a classic spiritual dialogue from India. It's a conversation between a warrior and a guide in the middle of deep inner conflict. It's less about doctrine and more about how to live with clarity, responsibility, and courage when everything around you feels uncertain. I've only read it once so far, again, so I need to go back to it, but it's one of those books you don't just read, you live with it. You return to it when the outside world starts pulling you in all sorts of different directions. For some people, that could be the Bible, the Quran. But this book is quite interesting, and this one line that has stayed with me ever since. It says, you have the right to your labor, but not the fruits of your labor. And here's how I've come to understand that. Do your work, show up, engage, but release your grip on how it turns out, because purpose doesn't live in the outcome. It lives in the quality of how you meet the moment. And that's hard, especially if you've been taught to measure everything by results. Like, did it work? Was it worth it? Or did it prove that I'm on the right path, the wrong path? Am I going to get my promotion because of these KPIs? And if you're in a corporate world, you know KPIs are key performance indicators. But anyway, this book points to something deeper. Your part is to stay aligned in the doing, not to control the outcome. Most of us attach to outcomes as a way to feel safe. If it turns out well, I'll feel okay. If I succeed, I'll feel like I'm enough. It's not weakness, it's just conditioning. When your nervous system has learned to equate worth with results, letting go of outcomes can almost feel like you're failing at life, when in reality, it's the first step towards real freedom. So maybe the work isn't detachment in a cold or passive sense. It's uncoupling your worth from what happens next. To be fully in the work without letting the results define who you are. So let's talk about the kind of progress that doesn't show up on highlighted reels, not the kind that comes with breakthroughs or massive clarity, but the quiet kind. The kind you don't necessarily notice right away, but you tend to feel it in your body. Progress is when your nervous system no longer sees stillness as a threat. It's when your first instinct isn't to fix or to flee, but to pause, to just breathe, to stay present with what is instead of rushing towards what should be. And I say should, right? Because we always have all these shoulds that we live our lives by. Sometimes the biggest shift isn't that you've moved forward, it's that you're no longer abandoning yourself in the in-between. And that's huge. You might not recognize it right away, but the fact that you're not panicking in the pause, that's not stagnation. That's your system learning safety. So if this speaks to where you are right now, drop the word capacity in the comments below so I know that we're all connected here. Sometimes real growth is being able to stay with the discomfort long enough without shutting down. And so this is what creates the internal conditions for clarity to sort of rise on its own, because it's not just your thoughts that are shifting, your body is building a new relationship with uncertainty. So if things feel unclear, quiet, or a bit slow, don't rush to exit. This right here is the groundwork. It's a kind of purpose that doesn't collapse under pressure because it's rooted in capacity, not control. So if you stop chasing but still don't feel grounded, pause here for a moment. Let this be an invitation, not an assignment. Ask yourself gently, what does my body associate with stillness? Not what you think about stillness, but what your body feels in it. Does it tighten? Does it get restless? Does it feel like something bad is about to happen? Or like maybe you're wasting time? So that response is needed. It's actually wisdom. It's showing you where urgency became a form of protection, where motion meant safety. So you don't need to change it right now. You just need to notice it. Just bring awareness to it, because we're noticing without fixing or changing. And that is the beginning of safety. And safety is what allows purpose to surface naturally, without force. So if this is speaking to something deep within you, this is the kind of work that we explore inside the Resistance Reset. We look at the nervous system patterns, belief systems, and all of the protective parts that keep you looping, even after you've consciously let go. So if you're feeling called, the waitlist is open below for the next round. And if you're not quite there yet, that's totally okay. Those 2 free tools I mentioned earlier are powerful starting points, gentle practices and prompts to help you feel safer in stillness and more connected to what's authentic for you. You'll find everything linked below. Take what you need and trust your own pace. There's no rush, only a return to yourself. All right, so we're wrapping up here. Just remember that letting go isn't the finish line. It's the moment that you stop bracing and begin listening. You stop gripping for answers and start learning how to be with what's here, even when it's uncertain, even when it's quiet. That's not passivity. That's a deeper form of participation, one that doesn't rely on force or urgency, but on trust, on attunement, on inner steadiness. So next week, we bring all this into the real world. We'll explore what it actually looks like to live your purpose when clarity isn't obvious, because purpose doesn't just arrive as a vision. It reveals itself in how you respond to this moment and the next moment and the one after that. So stay tuned for part 3. As always, if this video spoke to you and you felt like it brought you a bit of value, I would greatly appreciate it if you would just like and subscribe. It would mean the world to me, and it also helps other people find the channel and connect to this message so that they too can change their lives and connect with themselves in a deeper way that allows them to access the purpose that already exists within themselves. As always, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the other side of change.